Welcome to It's Been How Long? The podcast about Cherry Hill High School East students from the late 1970s and early 80s. This is Kara Siegel. I'd like to welcome in Nicole DeNie Genoese to the It's Been How Long podcast studio. Hey, Nicole, how are
Hi,
you?
everybody. I'm great. Thank you. I'm wonderful.
Well, thank you for agreeing to be on the podcast today.
Well, this is exciting because I've seen you when you do them on Facebook, and I always think, hey, Facebook was such a great way for us all to get reconnected and to be able to see them. I think it's a really great idea.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you.
Hmm.
So here we are, 40, almost 44 years after graduation.
Yeah, I
So
know,
what are you up
God.
to these days? Where do you live and what are you doing?
Okay, I live in rural Western New York, so I am about 80 miles southeast of Rochester. Our closest city, which isn't a city, it's Ithaca, where Cornell
Yeah,
College is.
yeah.
So it's about an hour away. Um, to go to like a good mall, 55 miles to a good mall.
Okay.
The other ones are just, bleh, they just
Okay.
stink. I do a lot of like online shopping because seriously, for where I live on 109 acres, very rural. And to go anywhere, basically, you better be prepared to be at least a half an hour to 45 minutes to go places. Like we love Wegmans. Our nearest Wegmans is probably 30 miles away, but we still go because we love Wegmans. So it's just doing that. My husband and I have a towing business. We have two different size tow trucks. So we do that. We work together. I really like doing that. We also have a dump trailer business where we lease out the dump trailer. People will get rid of their stuff in their house. We'll go and take it to the dump, which is so gross, but it is what it is. For about 9.5 years up here as a nanny.
Oh,
So I had lots of babies. I watched babies. I worked 5 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week. I was on a thing called care.com where people could find me. I did date nights for people coming in. They came in for weddings. It'd be like, hi, I've never met you. Here's my kid. Stay in a motel room for 6 hours. Bye. You know, so I was doing that, but I kind of, after 9.5 years of kids, and last year I had three different babies and I worked in Ithaca. So I spent 2.5 hours a day just commuting back and forth and an additional 8 to 10 hours a day working.
wow.
So I had really long days. And at Christmas time, I decided, okay, I'm done. I'm done doing that. So now I'll just do some occasional. So my husband and I, we really like doing that. We used to work together for Lowe's back in Jersey when we first got together in the early 2000s, doing kitchens and baths for Lowe's.
Oh, okay.
And then, but the people up here, they're not as affluent. It is much a different financial and social area.
Hmm.
It's very different. So we moved up here and I was in culture shock because like nobody had an in-ground pool. I was like, oh my God, like everybody had above ground pool. And a lot of people don't have money and they live in trailers, which also was culture shock to me. I was used to Cherry Hill or Mullica Hill where we used to live, where it's all developments and swim clubs.
What brought you
Um,
to the western part of New York?
Well, my husband bought the 190 acres back in 94 when he was married to his ex-wife, and he always wanted to come back. So in 2008, my daughter was graduating high school. So we moved up here with my two sons who were going into third grade and sixth grade. He already had older children. He had his children a lot younger than I did. And so they were already grown up. So they were living down here in New Jersey. Well, one's in Vegas. So we moved up here. And the first year it was hard because the snow, I had never seen so much snow. Like it'll start here in October and it will go usually through April, sometimes May. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, we had snow about 2 inches on May 10th, which, hello, I'm about 1,800 feet, like we've had some days where it's been 70 already. Like
Hmm.
this has been our warmest March, which ordinarily we're still snow. Like I was saying that we had the little flurries at like an inch. That's nothing. Like we usually get a foot or more dumped at a time. And you get very used to it. Up here, they do take care of the roads much better. Just my driveway is 800 feet long and it's not paved because it would cost too much. So that's kind of a pain, but we have a skid steer, so my husband can use the skid steer and do the driveway. So we're just up here, I mean, it's very beautiful. Falls up here are the mountains, the colors. Oh, so beautiful. I'm sure you get that with the hills and the mountains down there too.
Yeah, yeah. And you got the Appalachian Mountains. Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
quite lovely. It is quite lovely.
yeah.
Yes.
So what do you do for fun when you're not towing cars and emptying uh
Dumping trash at the
stuff
dump.
and
Um,
and caring for everybody's kid?
well, sometimes like we like to go to the winery. There's
Oh.
lots of wineries, breweries, distilleries here. A lot of them up here, like even if you don't want to drink, which sometimes we just go, don't drink, and we just sit and have a water or a mocktail, which is lovely. They have bands, like they'll do that a lot on a
Mm,
Sunday afternoon,
very
and you'll
nice.
sit outside and you listen to the music. They have food. Um, we like to take our boat. We have two boats because one wasn't enough for my husband because he's a man. And we'll take the boat out. We'll go fishing. Like a lot of times, like the bigger lake, Cuca Lake, which is called the Crooked Lake because it's actually shaped like a Y. Like it'll
Hmm.
come down and one part is longer at Penn Yan and this part's Branchport. And there's all these restaurants that have docks. So you can ride your
Mm.
boat and you can go and dock and go and have lunch and get back in your boat and have a nice. So we like to do that in the summer. Sometimes we like to just stay in and watch a good movie, like especially when it's cold. We light the nice wood stove in the living room and we just sit and like hunker in and cuddle. And well, that sounds really weird, but we like to do that, watch a good movie. Um, like to go for walks. Like a lot, we have motorcycles too. We have a couple gold wings. So sometimes when the weather's nice, we like to get on that and take like a really nice long ride. We'll just drive slow. We'll drive like around the whole lake. So driving around the whole lake, and it's like 60 miles.
Oh
So it
wow.
takes hours, but it's a really nice ride just to get out. And we go on back roads. So you don't have to worry about the people who don't know how to watch out for people who are riding motorcycles.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yes.
What did you do for fun back at East? Did you belong to any clubs or
Yes, I was in choir and I was in pace setters with Mrs.
oh
Swift.
yeah, yeah.
So actually, after high school, it was so weird. My dad was a lawyer and he was a prosecutor over in Camden County. And I used to work for my father. It was like right after high school. I went to college for a little while, but my parents were getting divorced. I was really stressed out because I just couldn't handle it. I was the oldest child and I had to kind of help with the younger ones. So I started working with my dad and it was in Haddonfield and there was this like studio right next to us and there was this like exercise class and Mrs. Swift was running it.
Oh
So
wow.
it was like a couple years after high school. So that was kind of neat that I got to, see her again.
That's cool. Oh, that's
Yeah, so
great.
and I was in BBG also through high school.
Okay. And did you have a job when you were back in high school?
Oh, I babysat.
Yeah.
Preemptive. When I was 15, I had this family. The dad would come and pick me up every Saturday night, take me to the house. They would go out, and even if they came home at 1 or 2 in the morning, he would drive me back home. They were in some other part of Cherry Hill. I don't like the east side, but I don't remember where. I did that in the summertime. We belonged to a Downs Farm Swim Club,
Okay.
so sometimes I worked in the snack bar.
Yeah.
We all wanted to work in the snack bar. We thought that was really cool. And then I, continued to do babysitting. I think I worked at, oh my gosh, I can't even remember. It was Echelon Mall. And
Oh.
I don't know if it was Gimbals or something, but they used to have this photo studio upstairs and I worked there.
Oh, cool.
Probably in senior year of high school, I worked there. Yeah.
Wow. So you started in college. Where was that?
Well, it was Glassboro State College before it turned Rowan.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So I went for several months. I was doing English lit. I was majoring in that. But like I said, I went through stuff with my parents. They were going through that. Then I worked for my father, and my parents were in the midst of a divorce. And I got to write, I had to type up and prepare my parents' divorce papers because I was my dad's secretary.
Oh, wow.
So I don't think I would have to say 95% of people could say they've never done that.
Yeah, I'd say.
I did that. It pretty much stunk, but
Yeah.
it is what it is.
So, Have you had any opportunity to travel in the States or
I
outside the
have been
States?
to Canada once. I went
Okay,
to Windsor, Ontario.
that's cool.
Um,
Right across the river from
from
Detroit.
Detroit. We
Yeah.
went from Detroit. Yeah, actually, because it was my boy's dad used to live in 18 miles above Detroit. It was called Troy.
Yeah.
And one year for he was getting them after Christmas, so my husband and I flew them out. We flew out of Atlantic City and took them there. So we had a few days there to like do sightseeing. So that was in 2004 when you could still drive over and show your driver's license. They
Yeah.
just checked, you know, they opened up your trunk to make sure you weren't smuggling stuff in or had weapons or whatever. So we did that. Um, I've done traveling here. We did is in April of 2022, my stepson, my husband's son, he lives down he lives in, I don't know if it's Boynton Beach, somewhere around there. Anyway, we drove down to Miami because they got married in Miami.
Nice.
So we drove the whole way.
Oh, that's all.
Yeah.
That's quite a hike.
It was a 24 hours. We stopped in right past Columbia, South Carolina. We stopped there. Drove on a Thursday. It rained that whole day. I remember it was awful. We got there like 10:30 at night, left early the next morning. I didn't realize how long Florida was. We're driving and I'm like, okay, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Like, how long is Florida? And that was really beautiful. They had like an outdoor wedding. They had like this big gazebo, and it was just lovely. We did that. And then on our way back, we stopped in Savannah, Georgia, and we
Yeah.
drove through Tennessee, and we went in Kentucky and went on to like the tallest mountain in Kentucky and stopped in West Virginia. We kind of did a nice little sightseeing on the way back. But other than that, we usually don't travel because he works a lot.
Mm.
And I was always working up to 7 days a week. And if you don't work, you don't get paid. So we just decided, we'd wait until we were more of a semi-retired where we're kind of at now. So we're in a
Okay.
better position to do more traveling now. Yes.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yes.
So, was there a class or a teacher at East that influenced you beyond your high school days?
Well, I loved Mrs. Swift. I thought she was wonderful. Mrs. Cable, who was the choir teacher,
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
was just like, I loved her. She was so bubbly. I'm going to tell you, one teacher who totally freaked me out was Otto Krupp.
No.
I had him in ninth grade, and then 10th grade, I had Mrs. Muir. And I think it was after 10th grade, between 10th and 11th, that thing happened.
Yeah.
He was probably tripping half the time because he would always come up and like feel my shoulders, and he would like jump up on his desk, and he always wore like purple Converse. He acted really, really weird. I don't think he was quite normal. So he always gave me like the heebie jeebies, I'm going to have to
Mm.
say. There's a lot of other teachers, but like honestly, I can't remember names. That's really terrible. Don't remember names.
I mean, honestly, so many of us can't. So, don't.
Okay, I don't feel so bad. Okay.
No, it's hard to describe. I've had the opportunity to like go through the yearbook quite a bit, so sometimes I'm able to come up with names. But yeah, no, it's 44 years ago.
It's a long time. Oh God, we're
It's
all old, and yes.
and
Now,
memories are fleeting in some cases.
yeah, some cases, yes. Other ones I just don't want to remember.
Yeah, that's true. There may be some selective memory there. So, did you have a
Yes.
high school sweetheart?
Oh, Michael Madron?
Okay.
Do you remember him?
Was he our year?
He played football. Yeah, he graduated with us. I dated him in 11th grade. We dated all through 11th grade. Um, Sadly, he dated several of my girlfriends too. He dated all of us. He just liked all of us. Sadly,
Oh,
he died in 2000 and probably 14. I think it was like February. He had been in the hospital before. I don't remember what it was, but I remember my friend Clara Capone. I used to hang out in high
mhm.
school. She was a year behind me. And I remember she called me because I was actually in Ithaca, babysitting some people who had come in from Washington, D.C. And she called me, and I was in the parking garage. And I remember that. And then in 12th grade, I kind of just dated a few guys from South Philly because that's when we had fake ID and used to go to all the discos, like
Okay.
Winter Circle and Valentino's. So I dated a couple guys from South Philly because we liked the South Philly Italian guys. I don't know why, but I did.
Okay. So, how did you meet your current beau?
Well, he's not my first husband. He's my third husband. I can talk about because I don't hide anything. My first husband I met on Easter night, 1983 at Coastline. He
Oh,
was with
wow.
Mike Madron. He was with Mike Madron. I was with my friend Connie Rappaport, a year
Yeah.
behind me. And I went with Connie and I met my ex-husband, Bob Kenny, and we met and we started dating. We got married in October of 1985. We had our daughter Christmas night, actually December 25th of 1989. Um, then we got in, well, during the marriage, we got into some things that are illegal, not stealing, but we got into drugs. I'm not hiding it because I've been clean for almost 30 years.
Hmm.
I left because it was bad. He wasn't stopping. I wanted to stop. I left. I went to my mother's. Luckily, my mother took me in because I didn't have anywhere else to go. We got divorced, but we still stayed friends. Um, I got sole custody, but I made sure that he was able to see her whenever he wanted to because, that's how it worked. We became really good friends. We would talk on the phone up until he was remarried. He got married a year before my husband Joe and I got married. And sadly, in 2000, November of 2000, he died. He had a heart aneurysm in his sidewalk. They had just gone to that diner in Belmar, Philly Diner, I think that's what it is.
I don't
Some
know.
diner. They live in Belmar, but anyway, sadly, that happened to him. And then I met my son's dad. I met him in 94. We got married in 95. We were married for some years, but things didn't work out and we divorced. He did something. So we got divorced. The boys, we shared custody with the boys too, because we didn't want, it's hard when you're divorced and you have very young children. We made that work. My husband, then we separated 2001. I didn't date for a long, long time because I just, I was like, man, ew, yeah. So then I actually went on Match.com where I met my now husband.
Okay.
We started talking in November of 2004, started dating the end of that month. We've been together almost 19 and a half years and we got married September 15th, 2007. So we've been married for 16 and a half years.
Well, that's great.
So he's a really good guy. Like he took my boys in because, he had already kind of raised his kids. His youngest boy was living with his ex-wife. We got custody. We would have him on the weekends, whatever. And we made the blended family work really well. And he took to my kids and he did really, really good. Not everybody will do that. So I
Hmm.
was very, very lucky.
Well, that's great. That's great.
Yes.
So, is there anybody from East, friends of yours that you're still in touch with?
Yes. Do you remember Carol Ann Lambase?
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
she's been on the
she lives in
podcast.
Rochester. We've gotten
Yeah,
together
yeah.
several times.
Oh, okay.
Yes, like her husband and her and me and my husband, we've got together several times. Um, One time, I don't know, probably about 7 years ago, we they have there's a zoo up there, and they have something called Zoo Brew, where you go in, you pay to get in, you have alcohol, they have bands, all the money they make goes towards the upkeep of the zoo.
Oh, wow.
It's like they do it every year. So I went there and spent the night. So I keep in contact with her. Mary Beth Gustat.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. In
Yeah,
fact,
Leonard Gustat. Yep.
I just
Yeah,
talked to her a couple of days ago. So,
we keep in track. Let's see, Fran Kelly. Do you remember him? He
no.
grew up in my development Downs Farm.
Okay.
He lives in Ocean City year round. So we contact on Facebook sometimes.
Nice, nice.
We were going to actually get together this summer because every summer, me and my kids and my grandkids, we go to Ocean City, New Jersey, and we go for either a week or 2 weeks. And that was our 5th year. This summer, we already got our house because you have to get it in like the fall. So we're going again next year, and we always go like past 34th. Like we like the south end of the island because it's it's less touristy and you're
Okay.
away from the boardwalk and stuff. So I've talked to him. Terry Wise Tischler, she I think was a couple years behind us. She actually works at the company that my husband, he works for one of his brothers and she works for his brother.
Oh,
So
wow.
I've kept it like there's other people that are more like on Facebook that
Sure.
you know,
Yeah.
you'll write with on Facebook. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Anybody you've
it's
lost touch with that you were?
Lori Goldstein. I don't know if
Oh,
you
okay.
remember her. We were in BBG
Yeah.
together. I lived in
Yeah.
Elmsford.
Yeah.
She was in Apple Hill. We were like best friends in BBG.
I,
And then after I lost track because she didn't even come to the 10-year reunion. Do you remember Robin Getson? She went to the 10-year reunion
yeah. Yeah.
because I went
I
to
want
that.
to say, is Lori on Facebook? I think
I
she
don't
might
know
be.
because I heard she moved to New York City. I think Robin had
Hmm.
told me at the 10-year reunion that she had moved to New York City and she was doing something with jewelry or clothes
Hmm.
or something, but I have never seen her since high school.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. So do you have a standout memory from high school? Either with a friend or a class or extracurricular or just something that always sticks with you?
Well, oh God, the food fights in the cafeteria. I remember them, but I also remember there was, I think it was outside the cafeteria. There was like the outside area where people used to go out and smoke. And I
Yep.
look back at that as a parent and I'm like, oh my God, they let people smoke. Like it horrifies me.
Yeah.
But I remember that. And I remember being at disco. So I
Yeah.
was not popular. And all the popular girls, the cheerleaders and like the football players, and being a disco, you were treated like you were like lower than the low, you know? So I remember that, but we had like a crew. So we were all there for each other. So it was like that. And just like the shows, like the Paysetter shows,
Hmm.
them and the choir shows, they really stuck out because I loved doing them. My parents always, my family would always come to them. My daughter was in choir all through school. I always did that. All my kids did sports. Like, you show up and just those were fond memories because they were nice. And that's when things were still good and safe. And you didn't have to worry about all the things that happen now, which is horrible.
Yeah. Yeah. So is there anything that you wish classmates knew about you back then or now?
Well, that's a really good question. Huh. I think that I wish that back then that people had known that just because you're in a different group in school, like, we had the people who were in the AV group and choir and dance, and just because they played sports, we were cool too. We were just cool in our own way. So I wish that like I guess some of the sports people had been a little bit more open to like broadening their horizons and like, oh well, you're not a cheerleader or you're not popular, so we don't want anything to do. Like, I really wish that they had seen that, this is only high school. When you get out of high school, being popular isn't really going to matter anymore because you're going to be a grown up.
Yeah.
So that's kind of something that I wish that it hadn't been so like clicky and so
Mm.
everything's run by the popularity thing because life really isn't like that as an adult.
No, no. So, it's very funny. So perceptions are just so funny and different and just from your viewpoint, I always thought of you as such a popular girl. I
Really?
thought that you
Oh my God.
absolutely 100%, 100%.
Oh,
Always
that's so
thought
funny.
absolutely is. I think the more people I have talked to on this podcast and hopefully you get a chance to listen to a few more of these
I definitely
um
want to.
everybody's perspective is so everybody was so insecure. It didn't
I
matter if you
totally.
were whoever you were, if you were in the A classes or you were an athlete or you were in
Right.
the band or you were in the drama. Every one of us it was so insecure, and that's the one thing that keeps coming up again and again with these is I wish I would have taken more chances. I wish I would have relaxed a little bit more
Right.
and I just think it's so funny perception wise. again, saying, I saw you. I thought, oh my gosh, she dances. She's popular. She's so secure. I mean, it's just very funny where we all project these things on each other. And it's just,
That's really funny because I just never felt popular ever, ever, ever. No,
that's so funny. Yeah.
that
It's
is
everybody's
funny.
perspective is different.
That's
Yeah.
very funny.
Yeah. Yeah. So have you been back in the building? If so, when,
No,
why? No,
no,
never.
I wish I had like just to go back because I remember, oh, they only gave us like 5 minutes. And half the time, and you're running and you're in like way over here and gym, like way over there. And then you got to go to like upstairs in the C building or B building. Was C the main building? And then it was like B, the B wing or whatever,
No,
where
when
the
you walked
classrooms
in,
were.
it was like A wing, and then you had B wing back there, and then C wing over there. Yeah.
Yeah, that was, oh, I hated that. No, I would like to go back in just to see if it's still as big as it always seemed to be.
Well, pretty much the consensus is it's a lot smaller than what we
We thought it
perceived back
was.
then. Yeah.
Okay.
And but most people say that it really hasn't changed.
Isn't that
And
something?
interestingly enough, it's not they haven't done a lot of reservations on it either. So
God, isn't
yeah, it's
that
a lot of
funny?
years.
Because
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
lot of years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So go back to 1980 and we've just graduated and you look forward 40 years to when you're 60. Is this where you thought you'd be?
I always hoped that I would be married and have kids and eventually grandkids. That's really all I really wanted to be a mom. Well, no, looking back also, I wanted to write books. I always was like, I love to read. I'm an avid reader. And actually, when I was 15, I had like, remember there's 3 ring notebooks, the really big
Hmm.
ones.
Hmm.
I actually wrote a book when I was 15. I don't know what happened to it because it got lost at some point when, my parents got divorced and me and my sister went. My mom had a boyfriend and she moved him in, and me and my sister went to live with my dad. So I really wish I had thought that maybe I would have written a book. That was it. But like being a mom, and now I'm getting my 5th grandchild. Like, and my husband we have 4 grandkids from my husband's side. So basically, this is our 9th. Like, we are so, so lucky. I mean, I never thought I'd be, oh my God, I'm old and I'm a grandparent. Isn't that awesome? But actually, I love it. I love being now I'm not grandmom because that's old. I'm a mama because I'm cool. And I've got tattoos, as we can see.
Yes.
I've got 6 tattoos. So I'm the cool, and I've got the nose ring and the belly piercing. So I'm the cool mama.
Okay. Well, that's awesome. So did you enjoy high school?
Some points, but other points, I think it was painful.
Okay.
It was just like the feeling so unpopular. And like, there was one boy, I'm not going to say his name because we graduated with him, and he would like bully me a lot.
Hmm.
And nobody talked about bullying then because nobody
Right.
knew what it was. But he would make fun of me all the time. And at that point, you could corner somebody, in a hallway or whatever, and it just made me uncomfortable.
Yeah. There we
Okay.
go.
I don't know if you remember Jan Bell, Martha Moore, and Eileen Tierney.
Yeah, I remember them.
Okay, I used to hang out with them all the time, and then we lost track, and I haven't found them on Facebook, so I'm not sure if they're on Facebook. Like, a lot of people don't do Facebook,
Right,
but
right.
then other people do. Like, you remember Lou Schaffer?
Yeah, yeah, he's done the
Okay,
podcast.
we're
Yeah.
friends on Facebook because he always posts stuff. His wife plays the bells at the church in Haddonfield.
Yeah.
Um, like Donnie Beaverson, who I was not friends with in high school. He was like, when he was younger, he had some problems. He was, a little bit of not, he acted out, but he got a lot different. And, we're friends on, it's a lot of people that I wasn't friends with in high school became friends with in Facebook because we've all grown up and we've gotten a lot more secure in ourselves. So I
Yeah.
think that's really neat that I've been able to like Reggie Wu.
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't friends with him in high school, and we're friends on Facebook. And it's so neat, like,
Yeah.
to be friends with people
Reggie,
that you
so
were
I've got
not friends with.
I'm repping Heaven's Edge here.
Oh, cool for you.
So, what's the best piece of advice that you would go back and give your 18-year-old self, or maybe you gave your old 18-year-old kids?
Oh my gosh. don't let anybody else's opinions dictate what you are going to do later in life, because we're very capable of a lot of stuff. Like, I wish that I had been more secure in myself. Um, but my kids they grew up more quickly, and all my kids were on their own at 18. They were living on their own. They were going to college and working a job at the same time and paying their own bills. So my kids just were like, they always had good work ethics. My boy started working at McDonald's at 15. My daughter started babysitting and then working at a daycare. So I just always told them, do the best you can. You have goals, work towards your goals. And as long as you try your best, it's going to be proud of you.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So we reached our Fast and Furious finish. It's usually not fast nor
Okay.
furious, but so did you have either a favorite TV show back in high school, or a favorite movie, or a favorite book?
Oh God, I love Love Boat. That was on Saturday nights.
Okay.
That was on at 9 o'clock. So a lot of times when I was getting ready to go out clubbing, I would be in our rec room and I would have my mirror and I would be doing my makeup while watching Love Boat to get ready to go out and go clubbing.
Okay.
So that was something I really loved.
Did you have a favorite musical group or genre of music, or a favorite artist?
Well, I used to love Fleetwood Mac, and yes, I
Yeah.
saw both of them at the Spectrum when there was still the Spectrum.
Right. Right. Right.
So I really liked those. But then when I got more into disco, I guess Michael Jackson really wasn't big yet. There was oh God, there was Chic, Freak
Yeah.
Out. They did Freak Out, and
Yeah.
the things that they would play at like the discos.
Yeah.
You know.
That's good. Did you have a favorite place to hang out with friends? Like to eat or just hang out?
Well, I do remember when I was younger, always at Cherry Hill Roller Rink. Used to
Oh
go there on
yeah.
Saturday afternoon. Sometimes Marsha Kaplan would go, and we would go together. Um, then when I got older, I think we were probably in senior year, like my friends Claire and then Pam Morris, who were a year behind us. We would every Saturday afternoon, we would go to Big John's for cheesesteaks. And then sometimes we'd go to the mall to go shopping, sometimes to go and get something before we go to a club. So that was like Valentino's and Winter Circle. Winter Circle more because we would go there, and then afterwards we would go next door to the Diamond Diner
Oh yeah.
and go have breakfast at like 2, 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed that too.
All right. So
Oh
did,
God.
did you do you like your picture and you like your quote? And your quote is treasures most MMET, my family, my friends from Ocean City.
Okay, that was Martha Moore and Eileen Tierney and my friends from Ocean City. Yeah, I had actually, oh, it's so funny. I have friends that I've known since I was 14 in Ocean City. They lived there year round. It's actually his name is Kevin. He grew up in Ocean City, and he is a manager of one of the real estate agencies that we use, and I always use him, and we've known each other since we were 14 years old, and we're still friends to this day,
That's great.
which is
That's
really cool. So, we'll talk occasionally, like a couple times during the year. And then, when we go down to get the house, I'll usually see him and we'll give each other a hug and just hello. And now we're all grandparents together. We've known each other since we were young. And so,
that's a
yeah,
lot of years.
that's a lot of years.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, second to last question here, which is, what language did you take at East, and have you ever found it useful?
French. French. I had it in ninth and 10th grade because you only had to have it for 2 years. I can still remember some of the stuff. I have never found it useful in my daily life. No.
Okay. All right. So, lastly, is there anything you want to tell anyone or everyone from our class or who might be listening to this today? Or
Well,
your parting shot, as it were?
my parting shot. Hey, if I send you a friend request, please accept it. I love catching up with everybody because look, now we're all older and we're grandparents, and it's pretty cool. It really is. And it's just so neat that just continue to get on Facebook. Let's continue to be friends. That's my parting shot.
Excellent, excellent. Well, Nicole, thank you so much for reaching out to me
Thank you.
and doing this. And I hope all goes well up there in the cold north,
Yeah,
and you get some good spring weather soon.
hopefully. Thank you.
All right, and maybe I'll see you at the reunion next year.
Where's that going to be?
I well, I may be speaking a little out of a turn, but I'm working on Alan Fellman to coordinate for next spring. Don't know exactly
Okay.
where, don't know exactly
No.
when, but shooting for our 45th next spring
Oh,
in
that'll be cool
2025.
because I've seen him put like sometimes he puts up stuff, Alan does.
Yeah,
Oh, that would be really cool. Okay, that would be
yeah.
great.
All
Yeah,
right.
that'd be wonderful.
Okay. Well, thank
All
you
right.
again.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining me on It's Been How Long? The podcast about Cherry Hill High School East students from the late 1970s and the early 80s. A shout out to my cousin Brad Corbett, whose podcast We Weren't Friends in High School inspired me to do this podcast, and whose advice and encouragement have been so helpful. Thanks also to my husband, Randy Cockdale, who read all the fine print on the podcast hosting website so I wouldn't have to. And thanks to Jeff Lyons, content consultant and guinea pig, and to Deborah Smead, also content consultant. And thank you to all our classmates who are listening in. See you next week.